All right, welcome back to the battlefield of the mind. I'm here today with Chris Burkett from the To Be Better podcast, which we got to do in his studio. So it's pretty cool to go on together and do this on my side. So I'm actually really excited to have you here, brother.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
All right,
Very interested to see how this is going to go.
There's more people who know you than me, but it's going to be funny for you to just explain for the people who don't know yet. So who are you and what do you do?
I am somebody that talks shit for a living. I have a podcast with my wife Peaches, and we do personal growth and development, relationship things, basic communication things. We are trying to help people to be better, hence the name To Be Better. We get the world is not a very nice place right now for men and even for women. You know, we are at odds with each other, and we're just trying to create some sort of common ground for people because this is not sustainable long term. So
all right, let's just go in and start going any direction that you want to go. If you were to go like, let's go ahead and start fixing the world, this is where if you could just wish a couple things away and help people to not be at odds with each other, where would you start?
golden rule.
Golden rule. So we start off with treat each other the way you like to be treated, right? All right, so where do you think we're going wrong with this?
It's no longer about treating people the way you want to be treated. It's all about what you can get from somebody. And that's the unfortunate path that we've taken. And as social media continues to push a narrative, people become more about me. What can I get? How can I level up? Where, how does this benefit me versus looking at things as a team aspect?
The me-ism religion. I did a large training on, like, I call it, even from the pastor side, of people that I know in the religious side, they call me-ism the second oldest religion of all, because this was the religion that, biblically Satan preached to Eve, that now you can be like God. It
Right.
can be you who is the center of all things. You can be like that. And now people are going into the narrative that they are the center of the universe. Now, there's a lot more of this behavior that's, been labeled very quickly narcissistic, but what are some of your views on like these things where it sees where this is affecting people in very specific ways? What are things that you're combating?
Well, before we get to that, it's important that you just mentioned the Eve eating the apple so that that we could be like God.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in that scenario, the next part of that story is that after they ate the apple, darkness came into the garden, and that came with depression and shame, and we were able to recognize our nakedness. So, on a biblical standpoint, we are not in a position where we can be free of those things because of our aspirations to be more than what we were and more than what we were designed to be. And I think that's important. I actually, Peaches and I are currently studying the book of Genesis. So it's funny that you mentioned that. Anyways, things that, can you ask me the question again? I'm sorry. I was hung up on that.
No, it's good. Listen, we can roll any direction. It was just more about the meism and people becoming the center of the universe. And I actually was just curious which direction. If you want to go more into that, I know some people are like biblical. Why? I think there's lessons to be learned through the Bible. Personally, if I go principles, I go Jesus himself, but the lessons through the other books are still there. And like, I think that it's interesting to go into, if you chose meism, what changed? You said shame, you said depression, you said darkness came into the world when it wasn't there before. We can roll that direction. I actually don't mind that. If you feel like this is important,
Well, I
especially
mean,
of getting people to stop seeing themselves as the center of everything.
right. Well, we're not the center of everything. And that's the problem. And you can even tie that back into the meism thing in the way that people have that want to step on people to level up and use people. It's because people don't want to work anymore. Like the effort that goes into we're supposed to be tillers of the land, right? In Genesis, they talk about how we're supposed to till the earth and like, be thorn and thistle and grow our food and do all of those things. Idle hands are the devil's plaything. But women will look to a man who has income to level up because she's got a body right now. Time is a depreciating asset. Beauty is a depreciating asset. So they try to take advantage of that in the moment. And then you get men who are wanting to work and provide, but don't see the value in a wife anymore. And like, so it's a me thing. I'm going to date this woman until I can get the next best thing. And when the next best thing comes on that I can level up on, I'm going to do that. I think that is a reason that we're also having the issue that we have with the meisms.
Yeah. Remember that loaded question that I gave you in Peaches? Do you guys remember when I said, like, when should a woman settle?
Yes.
When should a man settle? And I think this is where it falls into, is we think that the provision that we have now means I should always be upgrading. The society push of like even the question of should I be settling, or is this settling? Can I do better? And
Right.
then measuring better based on, like you said, depreciating assets like finances or beauty.
Right. But if the question is, can we do better? Shouldn't that be an internal question? Can't I do better?
Well said. Yes. But that's not what's being pushed right now. Remember,
Right.
golden rule isn't there. And I'm looking for, I am already good, or I am already the center of what things should be. I deserve attention. I deserve more freedom, more vacations, more conveniences, more. I want more. I want more. But there's obviously massive flaws in this.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that, like, obviously, if you should be looking at you and not external, look at the flaws. What are some things that you would just try and shake somebody awake from this dream?
Oh man, that's a very hard question because everybody's circumstances are going to be different. It's not going
Sure.
to be a one size fits all thing. I
Right.
got to be
Let's go with
honest.
the
The
masses, I guess.
public perception is probably the biggest one, and you can tie this back into religion as well because as we are, everybody, it's herd mentality, bro. Everybody wants to fit into the thing, as you said on my podcast that guilt, shame, and blame is going to push people into submission and doing what they want to do. And if the normal right now is high body counts, leveling up, stepping on people to get what you want versus actually doing the work, reading, praying, trying to be the better person for your family, even if not for yourself. That public perception is what's going to influence young people into the life that they're going to live. And that it's not going to work. That's not sustainable. You're going to see a decline in birth, which we're already seeing. Um, Relationships are at a 70 to 80% divorce rate. Like there's not a structure around family the way that it used to be. A lot of that comes down to control, but it's perception. You know, you're considered a simp if you say you love your woman. Like,
We get another judgment.
yeah,
That's the thing I love about where you guys are in, is you guys are doing what you believe is right. Not who is right, but what is right. But the narrative of who is right is the game for herd mentality right now.
right.
And there are no people challenging to go, wait, is that right? Or is that just you say I shouldn't talk back, or I shouldn't say anything, or I should somehow censor myself because you'll be meaner?
Right.
And this is, I think, but who gets to dictate? Who's allowed to have the control? Who's the meanest? Who's the most judgmental? Who's the most shameful? And
Them
I
with
think
the
it's,
biggest following and the loudest mouth.
and that's an interesting thing, is what gets a bigger following, actually saying something of value, or shaking your butt? What's going to have a
Shaking
bigger following? That's right. So we're valuing what? Booties and boobies over true values, or,
Yeah.
critical thinking, or even creativity in a way to make it so we can think outside of the problems we've created. No, no, no. So this is why it's funny to be called a simp for saying I love my girl, but isn't a simp really somebody who's just, I'm not paying attention to growth, I'm paying attention to bouncy things?
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely say that it's simple in that aspect. Speaking on the TikTok thing and social media, as we get 15 to 30-second clips, we are teaching ourselves to not pay attention to things,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because any long-term format content that we're putting out, like for me, if I put out anything more than 3 minutes, my watch time is like 10%. But if I
Interesting.
put out a 30 to 40-second clip, they'll watch the full 30 to 40 seconds, but that's not enough to get monetized. So they are, social media companies are essentially paying people for dummied down content, or I'm sorry, are promoting people for dummied down content because they're not getting paid for it. And that's what people are being trained to ingest. So it's actually shortening our attention span. It's basically giving everybody a superficial ADHD.
Yeah. It's a really interesting thing that's happening for people. We can't focus, but I do think there's a little bit of a pushback, and there are people who are waking up to this. But it's difficult because it's the herd,
Right.
and the outliers are where, like, I think this is where you and I, and tell me if this sounds too crazy. I'm going to segue off of this and then bring it back. I'm in a group of people where, like, I hang out with a lot of fitness guys, and one of the guys told me, like, if you can bench over 225 as a guy, you're in like the top 10% of men. Most guys can't bench over 225. And
Wow.
I was like, that's not true, man. That can't be right. Almost every dude I know benches over 225. That can't be
Right.
true. He's like, well, who do you hang out with? And I'm like, okay, I guess I hang out with that 10%. Like those are the guys that's my circle. And so in my perspective or my world, like it's got to be like 90% of dudes can bench 225. I don't know what you're talking about. Almost everybody can do this. Well, it's the same thing with who do you hang out with or network with? People who want to grow, people who are trying to improve, people who want to do better, or do you hang out with average to below average who want status quo, don't critical think, don't challenge or question anything, and just go with the flow on whatever there is? Well, what kind of people do you hang out with?
Right.
Well, you're hanging out with that 10% or plus, and so it's going to feel weird. Like, how can the herd be doing that when we're in the outliers? We're in the ones that aren't the herd. And it makes your perception a little bit weird. Like we're just watching that, but it's hard to identify with, and maybe help me. I'm maybe leading in the wrong direction here, but what do
Well,
you
I,
take from
I
it?
mean, and I think that in that mindset, though, when you look at what nature is, there's lots of different herds and a lot of different creatures. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And if you've got sheep, they're hanging with sheep. The wolves are with wolves. The gorillas are with the gorillas.
Yeah,
And I honestly, I mean, I know people in life that can bench less than 225 or can't bench 225, but like, you're right. I don't hang out with those people, and I'm not big into the fitness game like you are anymore. But like, I've been able to do that since I was 19 years old. That's just normal life shit.
right.
So my herd is different, and my mindset is different. My growth mentality is different. So I think that speaks on we find our tribe.
Yeah, okay. And so that then we're getting into like, do we ever challenge what tribe are we in? Who's the leader of the tribe? What is the rules or the creed of the tribe?
Yeah.
I don't think there's enough people asking questions.
No, there's not, because that requires more than the 30 to 45-second mindset.
Boom.
Yeah.
And we're training people to not pay attention for more than 15 or 30 seconds. It's interesting. Interesting. Where would you want to go with that, man? Like, I feel like you're holding back a little bit. Like, there's a thing here that I would like to uppercut.
I mean, this is your podcast, dude.
No, no,
I'm,
no. Listen, you told me when I sat on your couch, Southern rules. You're the guest. Take it anywhere you want.
um,
Mi
man.
casa su casa, bro.
Well, then I am underprepared because life happens, and I came in here and sat down like, okay, Rick's going to talk a lot because Rick talks a lot.
Rick, I'll give myself some feedback on that, my own humility. When I listened to that second episode, I wish I would have listened to you more.
Yeah,
That was my. I was like, man, because I was in flow. I was like, go, go, go.
it was great content, dude. My Discord fucking loves you. I don't know if I can pull it up. I'm not going to even attempt that because it'll probably crash my system. But there is a thread in my Discord where people are like, I've watched the Warriors Way Mindset episode 1 and 2 like 3 times, 6 times. I'm learning something new. I got a fucking notebook now, and like, dude, you hit a lot of points that made people think. And that anger is how we cry clip is like, I've gotten private messages. I've received emails over that. Like, people are like, thank you for that. I was able to explain to my wife now the way that I process emotions. And that was good episodes.
Thank you. I feel like the third one. I hope people are subscribing to your Patreon for that because that third one, I feel like we went even harder.
I haven't even watched it yet, to be
Yeah,
honest. I passed it off to my guys so that they can edit it, and Steve is working on it right now. I haven't got to see it yet. So
yeah. I feel like when we finished that last episode, we were all like, "Fuck,
yeah,
that
yeah,
was good." So I do hope people subscribe to get that last episode because I felt like we were in sync on that last
yeah.
episode.
We
So
will for sure be posting clips. I haven't got the clips folder yet either because he's still processing the main format. But there's a lot. There was a
let's
lot of
lean in.
conversation there.
Let's segue then. Like we're talking about the world, we're talking about society, we're talking about social media, we're talking about the obvious stuff that everybody bitches about. Let's just be fair.
Mhm.
Let's get into that anger stuff. Let's talk. You have a men's group. I have a men's group. We work with men. What are some things that you've noticed that like, man, our brothers need to be more aware of, or if we can start putting things out that I think both of us need to be doing to like let guys know, like, hey, 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 like even November's men's mental health month. And like, Randy just sent me a link to say, can we stitch this thing? We're like, it's men's mental health month, but I don't think anybody's going to talk about it. So
I actually think that November is Suicide Awareness Month.
Every month is, I think all the months should be all the months
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah. The so our men's groups are very different. Yours is you battle a lot of like depression and things like that. Mine is purely like date relationship shit for
Mm,
married men and business, because I'm very big on financial freedom.
fair
So
enough.
so my men's groups talk a lot about starting LLCs, hiring and firing, mixing business and family, trying to figure out marketing strategies. So our groups are a little bit different in that aspect, but I noticed that the biggest thing in my group, to answer your question, is the lack of financial freedom that most men have. And I think that's what draws men to my podcast, is because I'm financially stable. At 43 years old, I was technically retired 2 years ago. I came out of retirement to create the podcast.
Mm,
So I don't have to work anymore. I'm financially set that my business is bringing income, and I don't ever have to do anything ever again unless I want to. And men see that and they're like, well, how did you do that so young? And I was like, well, I sacrificed a lot of my life that I'm not going to get back to have it now so that I can enjoy my time. But I have a lot of trial and error, and those men want that trial and error so that they can skip steps. And that's the mentorship. That's the reason that I do the men's group.
I think that's awesome. Do you subscribe then to the hustle culture, or do you say there's a better way?
Um, define hustle culture, because that can mean a lot of things.
Yes, that's a good question. So as far as like I see guys who fall into like some of their online people who are like, showing their Lamborghinis and work 27 hours a day and, sacrifice everything now so you can live like others don't live later. Like is there a balance to this, or is there truth to that?
Well, I mean, all of that's bullshit. The in front of Lambos, and if you're like a billionaire, you might want to spend that kind of money on a car that you're going to keep for less than 30,000 miles. But most of those people rent those cars, or they lease them and then give them back. Like it's not a purchase, you know. But I do believe in the sacrifice now so that you don't have to later, because your body's going to fail you at some point. Your body is a depreciating asset. So if you have a strong back in your teens, 20s, 30s to build a business, so that in your 40s and 50s you can run that business and work on the business while people work for the business, it's going to put you in a position where you can truly retire. Roth IRAs, mutual funds, marketing, things like that goes a long way. But so in that aspect, yes, I do subscribe to the hustle culture. I missed a lot in my younger years to get to where I am, and I would do it all over again without question.
Hmm.
My body's beat to piss though because of it. Like I'm constantly hurting somehow. At 43 years old, my body's done. But that's it was worth it. It was all worth it. At 43 years old, I can do whatever the fuck I want. It's a good thing.
That's a very good thing. Yeah.
But on the speaking of balance, you can't so you can't be a hustler and a father.
Explain.
Well, you're going to sacrifice one aspect of your life to give 100% to something else. So if you're giving 100% to your business and growing your business, your kids are going to miss out on dad time. You can't manage 40 employees and be that motherfucker at work and then come home and be that way to your kids. And turning that off takes time, and you have to decompress and switch from that mindset to be a caring, loving father, and teach them to ride bikes and help them with their math homework and read books to them. And like that role is very hard for people to switch over from, because you're so used to leading in a business standpoint where people have an understanding, or otherwise you wouldn't have hired them, to coming home to a 5-year-old kid who doesn't understand what words are, and you have to try to cultivate that. It's a very different, it's a different hat. You got to take off the business owner hat and put the dad hat on and be the dad. And there's that wardrobe change takes time.
Sure. So there's two questions I have. Let's start with the duality of the identity. This
Okay.
means I've got this, I'm a king at work and I'm lost and confused at home, and the different hats that men wear. You've got your business hat, you've got your husband hat, you've got your maybe even family or son hat, you've got your father hat, you've got your friend's hat. Like I'm not exactly the same in all of them, because I treat my girl very different than I treat my, my buddies. And
Mhm.
so it's not the same dynamic for each. What is some of the things that you would suggest if a guy was just getting going and he can choose his path for this like duality? Should he start his family later and work on his business first? Should he do both and work on balance first? Or what would your suggestion be?
Um, success looks different to different people.
Hmm.
I have a friend who his only goal in life is to be as good of a man as his father was. So his work life balance is very different. He's more of a father than a business owner or anything like that. So I mean that priority needs to be established first. Me personally, because of the life that I've lived, I'm a different man with my bonus kids than I was with my biological kid because I am financially comfortable now and I don't have to be gone as much.
Mm.
So if my kids go, "Hey dad, I want to go to the garden." I'm okay, let's go to the garden. I can do that right now. We can go do that. But my biological didn't get that from me. I was like, Daddy's got to work. I can't. I have things that I have to do. Oh, you're graduating eighth grade today. I got a client. I can't. I'm sorry, I can't be there. Mom's going to have to go. So if you can build your empire without children and get to the point where you're financially comfortable and you can work on your business instead of working in your business and then have kids, you are going to be a better father than you would have been if you were not there. And being there and not present is also a problem. If you kill yourself for 10, 15 hours a day and come home, crack a beer and sit on the couch and your brain is dead and you can't interact with your kids, what's the point of even being there? They're not getting dad, they're getting a shell of a human being.
Hmm.
So that work balance, that work life balance matters to that aspect. And if it was me, I would do what I did. I would do it all over again. I would work hard as fuck through my 20s and 30s, retire or at least, work less to be more present with my children because they're going to become little versions of me based off of the things that I teach them. And if I'm not there to actually raise my kids, society is going to do it for me. Social media is going to do it. Teachers are going to do it. And that's a problem.
Yeah, it's a really heavy thing to say. And it's a lot that you just put in there. Here's one then. If let's say there's a young guy, let's give him 19s, early 20s, doesn't have a family yet, he's not married, doesn't have his girl yet, and let's say, I really want to focus on my business, and let's give him 10 years, he makes it, right?
Okay.
10 years, he was very successful, grinding for 10 years. Now he's in his 30s, and he's like, all right, now I'm going to start the dating game. I'm going to start, getting into the field. There's most likely going to be an obvious disconnect from that skill level. He's hasn't been cultivating relationship stuff, hasn't been working on the heart side or love side, has only been working on business and finances. Do you see some of the obstacles that this guy is going to run into that you would maybe help him get ahead of?
Um, I mean, there would definitely be things that I would be able to counsel someone for with that. I got to be honest. I think that those men are going to have a better, they're going to have a leg up on what's currently out there because they're not going to be poisoned by the well because they're going to be focused on bettering their life.
Mm,
They're going to have a humility that most men players aren't going to have because they've been in and out of the dating game for so long that they're going to pay compliments and actually mean them. You know what I mean? It's not going to be like, yo, what's up, girl? Like none of that nonsense. They are going to have to start fresh with a new mentality and have to actually understand the people they're talking to. I will also go as far as to say that if you have a business mindset, running a marriage is no different than running a business. It takes compromise. You have to be able to negotiate to make it so that both people get what they want, and like you're not just shitting on somebody and, well, I'm the boss, so it's my way. Even though I have a traditional value marriage and I am the final decision maker in my marriage, I don't do shit without my wife knowing about it. I tell her
mhm,
everything. I tell her things she doesn't want to know because I want her to be informed in what I'm doing, because if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, she needs to be able to pick up where I've left off and run with it.
mm,
So, but I wear that crown and heavy is the head, you know what I mean? Like I can't expect her to just roll with me and not know anything and be completely in the dark. She's got to be able to be my lioness. She's got to be there to help me battle in the event that I need to. So in that aspect, for to answer your question, because I just kind of side railed, that person that has been in the business world for the last 20 years or 10 years going into his 30s and has success, there's a couple things he's going to have to worry about. At 30 years old, he's going to be finding women who have multiple kids most of the time, if they, divorced kids, things like that. And that's going to create a whole new level of um, distress that he's probably not going to be used to, because not having kids and all of a sudden having kids in the home is a very hard adjustment to have. Even if you love kids, it's very difficult, because the way that you were raised and the values that you've had instilled in you are not going to be instilled in those children, because there's probably trauma there, because most people fucking have trauma now. And you're going to have to deal with the child's father on the top of that. And hopefully you're able to co-parent, but you are going to be opening a whole fucking can of worms getting into that aspect.
mhm.
So that's going to be a problem too. And that would be, I think, where I kind of would cultivate the thought process behind the men is to look for people who are not damaged goods because they have something going for them. At that point, they're the catch. And most men aren't going to see it that way because we're told that we're not shit. So if you're in your 30s and you have a successful business and you have money coming in and you are a decent person, right? Because that's important. That's just as important as the money.
Very, very important.
If you are a decent person, you are the catch in that aspect, especially if you don't have kids, you're not previously married. There's not a whole lot of bullshit in your life. You've cultivated a very peaceful existence for yourself. That matters.
You said a couple of things that I'm sure some people will be triggered by, which I'm
I'm
glad.
sure.
I'm glad. But I want to go back one step and then bring it back to the who's the prize thing. All right, let's say the ladies are listening to this and they're like, "Well, I don't want to be fucking with the players while you're building a business. I don't want to have to get abusive baby daddies so that I can, by the time I'm 30, I can start, trying to court this high values or value man, like this guy who's worked on himself, worked on his
I
business."
gotta pause you, Rick. The high value
Sure.
man thing doesn't fly for me.
What is it?
Having
Let's
money doesn't make you high value. It means you've got a bank account. Values
Perfect.
comes from self-awareness, integrity, quality of character. That makes somebody a high value man. If a lady is looking for a man with money, she's not looking for a high value man. She's looking for somebody to take care of her. That's not relationship foundation. Like that's not how it should go.
Good. So now the guy who's been working on his business now for most of his life may have a little bit of confusion going into the dating world because his value to her will be what?
It depends on the woman.
Yeah. So now we're in a bit of a conundrum of like, what's the best way that we could say, like for her and for him, if he's putting in until the 30s and he's not dating until the 30s, he's not playing because he's working on his business. And so now my finances are good and now my business is good, but my relationship, I'm kind of starting from a low amount of experience here. And then what should she be doing for this? Like, let's just say 18 to, so like from 18 until say 30-ish. So now we got 12 years. What should she be doing in her 20s? Hot girl summer?
No,
Hooking up with dudes? What should she be doing?
no, because this is a very difficult conversation because we are looking at a very, very small percentage of people.
Yes.
The amount of men that try to become entrepreneurs is less than 10%. That try.
Mm-hmm.
Men who actually become entrepreneurs is 2%.
Yeah.
So out of 100% of men, less than 90% actually try to open a business. The ones that do try, it's right around 2% actually succeed. And when you look at that number over 3 to 5 years, that number becomes less than 2% because people fail in the first 3 to 5 years of their business for whatever their reasons are.
Yeah.
So we're looking at a very, very small percentage of men. Women who are very cautious about who they lay with, right? That's a very small percentage of women because it has now become the norm to have a high body count or to, if men can fuck whoever they want, so can we. Like I gotta be honest, this is going to piss off a lot of people. And I'm sorry, I know this is your podcast, but there's a mental illness to that.
Sure.
My value comes with who is willing to lay with me. Like, are you fucking kidding me? That's telling me that you don't value yourself at all. Because if you value yourself, if you're a commodity, if you owned a $250,000 car, is anybody going to be able to drive your car? I wouldn't let people drive my car if I paid that much money for it. It's mine. Your body's the same way. You should be taking care of it, and you should don't flood the market with it. Don't turn it into a fucking Hyundai. Like keep that Mercedes the way the Mercedes is supposed to be. So to answer your question on the 10 to 12 years of a woman not doing things like that, I know a lot of men who have women who they've been with since they were teenagers who have very successful businesses. And that woman has stood by their side while they were missing out on holidays and missing out on graduations and doing the things because it takes a team. And sometimes that team means that mom has to step up and play dad's role while dad is building the empire so that they can live comfortably for the rest of their lives. You know the percentage of billionaires who are married? Almost all of them.
Really? Okay.
And it's all long-term relationships. It's not fly-by-night. It's not like Will and Jada nonsense. Like you look at people who have money, they have like long-standing relationships. It's because you need that teamwork to make that shit work. Mom can focus on being the parent and dad can focus on building the empire. There's your 100-100. Sometimes it's ugly and sometimes it doesn't work that way. Sometimes those roles are reversed and that's okay if that's the way it's got to work. Mm-hmm. There are women out there who are making fucking, $1 million a year at major corporations and dad's staying at home playing dad. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's gonna work. It's unique for each thing. You're hitting on so many good things here. All right, so for starters, we're not talking about most people, then we're in the 2 percentiles who were
Yep.
trying to, and I think the advice would be like, how do we get some more of the guys to get into that 2% to make it 3, 4, 5, 6% of people who are successful in that area?
Well,
Like,
that would
let's
come
raise
down to
the number.
mentorship. Like we'd have to get more than 10% to try, because trying and failing are two different things. In my life, I've owned probably 30 businesses, and only
Mhm.
about 12 of them have been successful.
That's a joke
So
for a lot of the guys I know with this, is where it's like, they say 1 out of 10 businesses fail. So I started 10 businesses.
yeah, yeah. I
or
mean,
like, or 9 out of 10. I'm sorry. 9 out of 10 fail. So I started 10.
yeah. And there's going to be times where you're going to have one successful business and the money's going to be coming in, and you're going to try to invest and do other things. And like if you have a business that requires somebody to do plumbing all the time for your business, instead of outsourcing the plumbing business, you're going to start a plumbing business. And if you're not a plumber, you're not going to know what you're doing. You're basically investing in someone else's dream. And
Hmm.
if you're only making $1,000 off a month off of that, is it really worth opening the business? And that's going to close, and that counts as a failure. The business could make you $1,000 a month and be turning a profit, but if you close the business, it failed, it's gone.
Yes.
In my opinion, my idea of a successful business is that it's still running, it's generating enough revenue that you can work in the business instead of on the business, or I'm sorry, on the business instead of in the business, and it's paying all of your bills. That's a success. If you're able to pay your taxes and live off the money that you're making, and other people are able to provide for their families based off of what you've done, you have a successful business.
Hmm.
If you're making $500 a month and it's your play money, I mean, that's still a success, but it's not truly successful. It's play money. You basically created a job for yourself.
Yeah. I think that's good. And so I'm going to tie a couple of these together. I want to get into the get a mentor thing and then go back to who's a prize. But first, let's go back to that 250K car thing.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and dig in to give women a little bit of a chance of perspective for, the guy's point of view here. Now, I'm not trying to go super Genghis Khan and like you should never ever have been with anybody. I'm not trying to
Yeah.
be, that crazy. But as far as, being able to value yourself, if you are, special and unique, and while you have the beauty favors the younger for women, we know this, like while you're young and it's got high value, that $250,000 car, who do you let drive it like you stole it? And it's like, just bastards at that point, guys who are like, they don't appreciate it, they don't care, they treat you like a used stolen car, and they drive it into the ground. And you'll do this with dirtbag after dirtbag, night out with the bar, scumbags, guys you don't remember their name, and you'll rack up driver after driver after driver to where you don't even know how many people drove this car anymore.
It's a rental car.
It's a rental. And then after you finally gone, okay, those years are done, I don't want to be like that anymore. Now you're going to look for somebody to pay a premium for this car. You're going to look at somebody who wants to pay a premium for a car that's been driven by everyone for free. It poorly, crashed into things, treated very, very badly. The Carfax on this does not look good. And now I want you to pay more than 250K, as though that's what it was when it was new. I want you to pay 300 plus K for this vehicle now that it's been driven into the ground. And I think women are struggling to wonder why guys are like, who do have that level of, well, I could pay that, or I have the values that you're looking for, and wondering why guys aren't as forgiving about like a girl who's racked up, 100 plus body count.
Right. Well, there's a difference between a rental car and a certified pre-owned. Right. Like I've every time I go to Vegas, I rent a high-end luxury car, and I take that shit off road.
Mm.
I'm not gonna lie. I've taken a Porsche down a dirt road at like 100 miles an hour. I don't give a shit because it's a rental car. I got insurance, and it's the same thing. It's not going to be treated the same. You don't know how it's been loved, and you can look at it like that, because as a car guy, I love my cars. My car is cleaner than anything I own. I have it detailed every Monday. Somebody comes to my house and details my Mercedes. It is clean as shit inside. Outside is spotless. I love my vehicles. So if I traded my Mercedes in today and got a new Mercedes that is a certified pre-owned Mercedes with a ceramic coating, it's never been dogged, the engine has been taken care of every single step of the way, my car doesn't have trauma, there's no baggage attached to it.
Mm.
Somebody else is going to go, okay, I love this car. That motherfucker loves this car too. I want that car. And there's not going to be a negative connotation behind it. But if that car is traded in at 200,000 miles and there's dents all along the side of it and the paint's falling off of it, and it's been beat to piss, you're not going to get the same value. And men are going to love their cars, hopefully, the way they would love their woman in this analogy, because Otherwise, they just wasted that whole speech. But
Hmm. Yeah,
it's important to remember. I mean, it's something to think about.
and I think this is where we're not trying to call women cars right now, but we're trying to give an analogy of take care
Yes.
of yourself and have enough respect for yourself that you don't let everybody just drive you like they stole you. Don't treat you terribly, because at some point, if you want a guy who's going to truly have all of the values that you're looking for, you're going to have to come with something more than baggage and damage.
Yep.
And weighing out my damage versus my benefits, like my baggage versus benefits, is a really difficult thing. And that would lead me towards that, like, gaslighting introspection thing that we talk about. Now, I haven't met a woman yet who doesn't do it or hasn't done it, and there are a high number of guys who also do it. And this is gaslighting their own introspection, means they're lying to themselves about what it is they do. And
I feel the need to chime in before we move on. I feel the need to say that on that whole car analogy, one, I think it's dumb that we actually had to say that it's a metaphor. Like, we're not calling you cars, but the fact that we had to say that, we had to say it. Okay. I think it's important to recognize that it wouldn't be possible for women to find those guys that are going to beat the piss out of the car and treat it like shit if it wasn't for the fact that we are willing to do those things.
yes.
So while women are over there going, I can't believe he's saying this, blah, 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 you haven't listened to my podcast. We hold everyone accountable over there. So it doesn't matter if you're a male or a female. I'm going to call you on your shit. So I feel the need to address that, just like you needed to feel the need to address the metaphor thing. Like, men, you have to step up and be better. You can't expect to treat everyone like shit and then come into your own and be like, okay, I'm ready to settle down now, because all the foul shit that you did to women, other men have been doing to women. At some point, we have to break that, or it's not going to ever improve. We're just going to keep reliving that shit.
The blame game, sure. And
Yeah.
listen, I'll go right in there, because I'll tear the guys open on this one too, no
Yes, sir.
problem.
Yes,
Like,
sir.
as far as the young guys today, there's a whole new issues coming out with these guys who are actually trained to not value women.
Yep.
This is actually, ladies, you're doing this, by the way. You're a big part of the training. So don't think like this is happening to you. No,
It's happening to you.
you're the trainer
Yep.
for these young guys right now, because you guys are creating the systems to show how to treat you. And it's not good. Just so you guys, if you just pay a little bit of attention, right now it's going to seem like a really big mismatch for the fellas. Later on, ladies severely lose.
Yep.
Like, severely. You ladies, you're setting yourselves up to destroy yourselves. We see it. I haven't talked to anybody in the psychology world yet who's not like, it seems pretty fucking obvious. But ladies, this is where you can catch your end. But the young guys, your sons and these nephews and these young guys who are raised on pornography and raised on, like, single homes, like single parent homes, and how you've treated the father and how you treat the guys, you're teaching these guys the way to handle emotions, the way to treat people, how you can gaslight your introspection to make it so you can be absolutely evil, but totally justified because of your emotions is being pushed onto your boys, and the level of equality that you think everybody should treat you as. Boys are not going to be growing up with the don't hit a girl.
Oh, no.
They're going to be growing up with, like, you're human A, human B, and they're going to be destroying girls because they're going to not see value in you because you're not showing value in you yourself.
Yep.
And diminishing a guy is going to make him not be the good man that you want him to be. He's going to be truly just a bad boy, and he's going to be hurting people.
You're seeing that now on social media. The amount of women who attack men and men blast them and lay them the fuck out and nobody does anything about it. It's all over TikTok.
It's already shifting.
Yep. And if it's on social media, it's only a matter of time before it becomes real life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. That's a problem. We talk about that a lot too. We talk about the absent father thing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very big conversation for me because I think that's actually the biggest problem. If I could fix something right now and just snap my fingers and that be the case, we would go back to nuclear families. Men would be present in the home, not there, present, because there's a difference.
Very, very well said. And also giving our guys mentors. These boys, I talked to a lot of young guys, like 21 under, who are like, I don't know what to do.
That's
like,
because the father's not there.
I'm right there with you.
If the grandfather was there, they wouldn't need mentors. They would have that. They would have it on the fishing trips and hunting trips. And
well, even if the dads are around, a lot of dads are emasculated to the point where they're not actually being good men either.
oh, I agree. I
And
agree.
that's why I say we have to go by the majority. And like we talk about like the groups that we hang with are in the 10% to the 2%ers. And like, so I do agree that our view may be a little skewed because we don't hang out in the circles that are the majority,
Right. No,
you
I
know,
definitely don't.
and that makes it difficult because we're seeing from the outside what the, like you said, the sheep, like the main group is doing. And you're going, wow, like I can't imagine what that's like. But there are, kids who don't belong in that sheep mentality who are raised with the sheep. And you can see, oh, that's a lion and that's a wolf and that's a gorilla. And they're in with the sheep and they don't belong there, but they're being pulled down, or the eagles, for the example. Like, these are like, you're being told to be a chicken when you're an eagle.
Right.
And you're seeing people live their life that way. Well, it's making it so very powerful, and very high potential boys are becoming terrible humans, and they are driving women like they stole them. They are running through the numbers, and women creating superficial measurements like finances, like height, like physicality, like money, power, fame. Like, we start getting into these aspects, like that's what makes a guy, like, his confidence, which is like shoot his shot on everybody. Well, that's how you pick a good guy. Well, these guys are not, their resume does not say good guy.
No.
And so they're becoming the loudest version, and girls are treating them. And so when guys are actually building themselves up, the bad guys, the guys who aren't one of us, are going to be just trying to run through the good girls, destroying the good girls.
Right. And the cycle continues.
Yeah. And this is where, like, man, we can't wake people up fast enough.
Yeah.
How can we get like these young guys to go, hey, step it up, focus on you, be a good for you, so you can be a good leader for others in business and home and family and fatherhood and in relationship, and so you're stable and healthy. That's better. Well, if there's no fathers at home and the women are destroying their sons because their dad was bad, so now these kids don't have a fighting fucking chance because they're hyper emotional, with no rough and tumble play, with no ability to be able to know limits, and there is no guideline on the difference between a man and a woman. These guys are going to be knocking girls out.
Yep. There's a whole lot that you just said in that one too. And basically the you asked how we fix that. And without having a father or a proper mentor, it's not going to happen. And then when you look at accounts like ours and the message that we're preaching, we're either going to get hated and shunned because of the message we're speaking, or young men are going to go, yeah, I like Andrew Tate better. I like
Which is,
Fresh and Fit better. And they tend to those things. And then they're being taught it's okay to cheat on a woman.
yes.
Don't respect them. Use them. You're the prize. They just want you for your money. So treat them as such. They should stay at home and make you a fucking sandwich while you go hustle and go out with your girlfriend on the night. Like, that's not healthy either. It's just
Right.
perpetuating the cycle. So I
Yeah.
guess my question for you is, how do we fix this? Where is that starting point? Because we're trying, but
Yeah.
we're nothing more than a voice on the internet for most people.
I think that's part of the problem, is like there is more to the voice on the internet. The reason that we are noticed for what we're doing is because we're actually doing something that's not being noticed.
Okay. And that is
Like the groups that you're running, how many people really know you have a group to help guys build their finances and build their stuff?
not many.
They just watch the clips that you and your wife will make, and they enjoy the content or the entertainment or the idea of I'm growing by listening, even though there's not an action. But they
Right.
don't know that after the show you're doing a real thing to help guys grow.
Right. They
And the
want the
same
30
thing is,
interactions. They want the easy level up, man. It's not going to work that way.
and that's the thing is, even for me, my first program is over 4 months of me just tearing guys in, and I like military guys, hardcore, like strongmen, MMA fighters. I don't care what it is. I got all of them.
Right.
Like, I've got truck drivers, police officers, just, guys who work at the auto shop. You name it, I've got you. And so I'm taking on men every month. We have more guys, and we do transformation, not information. But right now, what we're doing is information. We're sharing ideas, and that there are places that we actually do real work. You help guys build businesses. I help guys break addiction, depression, anxiety, and make it so you can authentically know who you are, to make you bulletproof against blame, shame, and judgment. I will transform you. You transform people's fate outside of the show. And I think that's really what I want to go is, can we be everybody's father? No, we can't do that. But can we be mentors? Well, we can do this. Is it going to be easy? No. It's simple to say I need a mentor, but that doesn't mean easy because there's a lot of time, effort, and work on both sides. And unfortunately, it's not free to have somebody who can fast forward you 20 years of information in 6 months.
Okay,
Like,
so then what do you say to the men who are saying, you guys are preaching mentorship and you're willing to do it, but there's a fee attached to it? What about the men who can't afford to pay for your fee?
I think that this is one of the things. Here's my personal opinion because I have also spent, I spent over $100,000 of just busting my ass 9 to 5 money to be able to pay for certifications, training, mentors. I've put in like a lot more than I ever did in college
Right.
is in specific trainings that I wanted to do. And there's always a way to find it, and sometimes it's as simple as just cutting out your Monster energy drink in the morning, or like chilling out on one piece of your routine can open up an extra $1,000 for you. And sometimes your habits are the reason why you're not able to grow. But instead of sacrificing a comfort to be able to be uncomfortable enough to grow and afford a chance, which they can. And let's be real with payments and stuff like this. If you had to, and this is where I'm putting it on the table, prioritize your actual life over your fucking bullshit, you'd find a way. If, for example, any guy out there is like, I'm really struggling with money right now, I bet you if you gave us your finances and your schedule and then made a priority system that said you need $1,000 to be freed up or you will die this month. Like, this is it. Or your kids won't make it through the month if you don't free $1,000 up. I will bet you so much we can figure out $1,000 real
Easily.
quick.
Easily. Yep.
Somehow you'll sell something, you'll work harder, you'll figure out a way, you'll change your jobs, you'll get out of your normal shit, you'll save money, you'll stop subscribing to dumb things that you don't need, you'll quit smoking, you'll quit drinking, you'll figure something out to save the money.
Yep.
But I don't think that people have a mindset of actually doing things. And this is why I look for warriors. I need someone who's willing to really fight. A willingness is one of the part of the creed that I don't care about your results as much as I care about your willingness to fight. Keep getting up. Because, like Rocky said, like nothing's going to hit you harder than life. But are you going to get back up and keep pushing forward? Those are the guys I'm looking for. I'm going to tell you one thing, Chris. This is something that like I let guys know. I'm going to openly put out there so people know where it is. My like 5-month program that I have coaches and everyday support for, it's only like $7K. I'm way underpriced for how much we put into our guys. Anybody in this industry for how much support I do, it should be over 30K, but I can't work with regular guys with that. I can't, there's no way a guy who's making like 50K or 60K could ever afford dropping $30,000. They just couldn't.
Right.
So I'm like 7K on payments. It's like $1,700. We can figure it out. Right. So I had to do it this way, but I've also made it so that every month there is that guy. There is that guy who will walk through fire, that guy he would do anything for anybody, take the shirt off his back. He will fight through anything for his family and to do what anything it takes. There's those guys, but they do not have the money. They just never had a mentor like you. They never learned business. They never learned how to make it. They just didn't have anybody show them how to do it. Every month I take one man and I pay for him. Every month there's one guy that I go, this is my guy. We put $7,000 down for that one guy, but it's the guy who shows up. It's the guy who does the work. It's the guy who keeps supporting and putting something on the table. It's the guy who goes, I don't have a lot to go with, but I'm doing everything I can with what I've been given so far. That guy we pay for every month, one guy. So what do I say to the guys who like, I just don't have the money? Fucking show up.
Yep.
Keep fighting, keep showing that you have the drive inside of you to be a warrior that will fight for your family, that will fight for your future, that will fight for the potential that you have inside of you. And just because you don't have money doesn't mean you don't have hope. So fight, man. And those who give up, they don't get in. They don't make the cut. I'm looking for the guys who will fight. That's my perspective.
I mean,
The
it's
guys
good.
who know the money.
I've always said that you're not paying me for my time, you're paying me for my experience.
Yeah.
So my time is already spent. I've spent it. I've gone through hell so that I can help others get through it themselves. But I'm not going to give away that time, because any time that I give away moving forward is time that's taken away from my family. So you have to show me in one way or another that you want it. And if you're willing to spend the money on it, it shows me that you want it. Whether or not you're willing to do the work is a whole different thing, because there's people out there that will throw $7,000 at a toy
True.
and then go, how come I'm not leveling up? Well, you don't make the live calls. You're not, you're uncoachable. Everything's about you, instead of, things are happening to you instead of things are just happening. You're a victim. And that's a very different mindset. Like, if they're able to throw the money at it and waste it, I'm not going to coach those guys. I would rather have the guys with no money who are, like you said, are willing to show up. But it's also finding those guys, because people will talk a big game and then not follow through.
Yeah.
So there's got to be some sort of barrier or paywall, so to speak, that's going to allow us to vet who we're helping.
There
Not
has to
everybody deserves that help.
There has to be. If you're going to pay for a brain surgeon to work on you, it shouldn't be free because you didn't make choices to like make it so you have extra money. I don't agree with it. I think skin in the game is one of the creeds that we have. Everybody has to be putting something in. And just so you know, the guys who we pay for, they do volunteer work. We put them to work. They have a job within the Warriors way that they are supporting new guys. They are helping, post things up. They're putting in some contribution. Nobody gets a free ride.
Yeah.
Everybody is doing something where you have purpose within the army of men. And so there's nobody here who's just a freeloader. Every guy's putting in something. There's skin in the game from everybody.
If you're creating a tribe.
Yeah. And this is because we want to have integrity. We want to have loyalty. We want to have guys who will, in a healthy way, like have the confidence to say, I want to serve. I want to support. I want to give. And that makes it so together we are better. We're always stronger when we're together with this kind of mentality. So this is where, what can we do with these guys who don't have help, like don't have it? We can give mentorship, but I think that you have to fucking want to fight for it. That's what I think.
Yeah.
And you have mentorship, right? I can't make the money. Well, then you grind your ass with this dude. He'll teach you how to make the money. And then if you're like, I need transformation, I've been ingesting information, but I need transformation. I'll put 6 months into you, but you got to fucking work, dude, because this isn't the sunflower way. It's not the rainbow way. It's not the happy day way. It's the warrior's way. And I have never had anybody get through my program and go, that was pretty easy. Everyone who's ever done my program has gone, fuck, that was the hardest thing I've done.
Yeah.
Because I tear your stuff open and we rebuild you authentically, and it's a lot of work. And so that's where like there's a difference from information transformation, and we can give mentorship to help guys not have to screw this up for the next 20 years. So that's my only solution that I have right now, is building the tribes to give guys lives back.
Yeah. I think that you touched on service there. And I think it's important that that's definitely a very big thing to serve, because as men, that's what we're supposed to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's actually why we were created by God, was to serve. So even if you don't have religion, there are other facets of our lives that makes us able to serve. But when you look at what a man does, if a man has purpose, he's going to live a lot longer, healthier, stronger life, because he has purpose and something to work and live for. That by definition is service. So we are built that way. And when we lose that service and we're no longer working, we die. We get sick and we die. It happens. Most men hit retirement age, retire, and they're dead in 6 months. So
no, there's no purpose.
Yep.
Yeah. This also comes into the depression aspect of shame stacking yourselves without purpose. They're like, it's really difficult to find hope or purpose, like anything to do. And so, yeah, without that service, there is no purpose.
Yep.
We are loved for what we can provide. Still, it's still the game right now.
That'll always be the game.
Yeah. Like, well, I think that this is one thing I was giving testament to you and your wife, is being able to go like, not only did I, choose you not only for multiple values, but you are able to provide. And that made me feel safe and secure with you. But it also gave me the room to be able to open up my heart and empathy for you, which is just not the case for guys today.
Right.
So this is where I'm going to lean it back towards, who's the prize is the guys who choose mentors and or will lean in towards mentorship, not just fathers, which I hope are there. But if they're not, it exists where you can reach out to guys like us and go, I need to learn faster so I can do better for longer. That exists. You just have to be willing to do the work. Ladies, trying to have accountability to yourselves, to take care of yourselves so you can also be a good partner. And this doesn't mean don't work. It doesn't mean don't have your own talents. It doesn't mean don't have your own things you love. Still do whatever you love. I'm just saying, also value yourself enough not to let everybody devalue you by using you. That's just something that a guy with a high amount of values is going to really struggle with, like going down the street and 10 guys that he walks by have all slept with you.
Yeah, I mean that comes down to self-worth too, though. You know what I mean? I don't know. I kind of do pull things back to business, but it comes down to a depreciating asset.
Mm-hmm.
If everybody can have it, there's no value to it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'll leave that one on there. I want to bring it back then to the way that we lie to ourselves then.
okay,
Like, and I just go off of the masses then. People will do against the golden rule. They make it about me and the meism, the addictions for attention and the things that we're able to get now very easily, but then not call the things that used to be bad or that you don't like others doing what it is. The denial of the truth. Like I said, we're calling the things that we do that are shameful or that would be disrespectful to ourselves, or something that if you see another girl doing it or another person doing it, you'd go, that's messed up. But if you treat someone that way or you treat yourself that way for whatever personal gain, it's very easily justified or excused. And I think this is creating so many compounded problems that we really should be really paying attention to ourselves. And I think one of the tools that I use for this is the Epictetus compass, is what I brought up even on your show, where being able to use this one quote, this one sentence will wake you up. Your circumstances do not define you, they reveal you to yourself. It's not about the things that are happening around you. That's not who you are. The way you handle it shows you your level of training. It shows you the kind of person you are. And did you lie? Did you steal? Did you treat somebody in a way you would hate to be treated? Did you, act disrespectfully? Did you, cheat or manipulate? How did you handle that situation? Did you
right.
shut down? Did you
These are
lash
all things that
out?
define your character, though.
Correct.
To be clear, for those of you who don't know, you can define your character by what you would do if no one knew you did it. Would you steal it?
Integrity.
Would you kill somebody? Would you rob somebody? Like that defines your character. So in a very shorter scenario, that's exactly what that is.
Correct. But we're not calling what we're doing what we're doing. Well, they made me, or that person deserved it, or it's not my fault, or, well, that's the way I was raised. The things that we can do to make it so, like, well, not my problem, the stuff that we can do to make it so that we can do things that we would hate done, yet somehow glorify it for ourselves. Like if growing up, we talked about that girl that went to Peach's school who, like, her nude pictures were sent around and the reputation preceded her. Well, now if a woman is doing porn on her, her website or her page or her whatever social media, well, it's glorified because that's me being about my business.
Right.
You're like, well, wait a second. This was shamed before. This was not valuable. And you're not looking ahead to when you do ever have children, what impact this is going to have on your kids when they're in, like, middle school and their friends can look up your nude photos or watch your videos of you masturbating or whatever. There's going to be future implications that go like, your kid's going to need therapy because of your decisions today.
Yeah, but that won't happen to me, Rick. It'll never
Yeah,
happen to me. That happens to other people.
correct. And this is where I really get concerned over the way that we lie to ourselves to make it so that we're okay.
Right.
Denial is the main curse for most people. For women, it's this gaslighting thing. It's the protection that they create, the false persona. It's the lies that they tell themselves to make themselves feel better than they really are. For guys, the denial is suppression. For guys, they push all the emotions down. It's still denial, but it's going to suppress, being too silly, suppress being too sad, suppress even being too angry. We have to suppress so much that we're just walking volcanoes.
Yeah.
It's still denial on both sides, though. We're still calling it, where guys will go like, I'm fine, it's fine. And girls will go, well, I'm good. And I'm the good one. I'm the prize. even though you're taking and destroying everything around you. It's all their fault for not being good enough to handle what destruction you bring. And that goes into friendships. The backstabbing, the betrayal, the gossiping, the talking poorly about somebody, being nice to their face, and then talking terribly as soon as they walk away. That's somehow justifiable for maybe attention or maybe being popular.
That's just normal behavior now. People
It
don't
is.
realize that if somebody gossips to you, they'll gossip about you. The
Yep.
other thing I want to point on is the self-worth thing. If you're doing all of those things that you just laid out and you want to be the prize, you have to have self-worth. There has to be a value there for you to actually be a prize. And if you have poor quality of character, you're not a person of value in any way, shape, or form, and you don't truly love yourself.
Well, yeah.
So, there's a lot. I don't. The problem with all of this is we can do this until we're blue in the face, and we can like put all of this out there. But unless people are able to take accountability and go, okay, wait a minute, I'm the fucking problem here. I'm the only thing that can change in my universe is me, and it didn't happen to me. It just happened, and this is how I have to respond. And I can either grow or become stagnant. Nothing's going to change from it. And what you
Yes.
were saying a second ago is it's everybody else's fault. Nobody ever says, well, I did that. I fucked up. How can I not do that next time? What's the steps that I need to take?
Let's give them a step. Let's give them a thing I want to make it so we can give them a little bit of like, it feels okay. I want to make
Okay.
it so we give some reassurance to our people. Here's what I hope for all of you. If you do any of this accountability, introspection, Epictetus compass, where like it's not your circumstances that define you, it's revealing you to yourself. Here's what I hope. And my prayer is for all of you. I hope you're the fucking problem. I really do.
I do too.
I hope you realize you're the reason your relationships fail. I hope you realize the reason there's an argument is because of you. I hope you realize the kids aren't doing well because of your system. I hope it's you. But why would Rick want me to be the problem? Why would he ever want that? Because if you're waiting for somebody else who is the problem to figure it out so you can be okay, you may be waiting for a long, long time. But if it's you that's the problem, you're back in the driver's seat.
Yep.
You're in control, and you can start right now making different decisions and working on yourself. So if you're the problem, this means you're the solution. And I hope that you're the problem because you can start today.
Yep.
So that's why I hope you're the problem. Any of my guys, when they come in, they're like, oh, it's this and this. I'm like, this stuff is you, bro. So we can work on that right now.
Yep.
I'm like, these couple things you may have to have conversations because that's not your controllable. But the ones where you're fucking up, I got you. We can work on that one today. I hope you're the problem. And any ladies who are gaslighting yourself, I hope you really look at your behavior in the mirror and you realize you're the ones who've ruined your friendships. You're the ones who choose the types of people who betray and destroy. You're the ones who, backstab. You're the ones who talk behind people's backs. You're the one who creates massive amounts of negativity in your circles. I hope that you're the problem in the arguments. I hope it's you, because now you have a fighting fucking chance to do something about it.
And in all of that, you choose your social circles. So if you're not happy with your social circles, choose a new one.
Mm-hmm.
That still gives you the accountability and it puts control back in your life. So, all good points.
I'm leaving it at there. So let's give ladies a chance here.
Yeah.
They're like, well, that's not good. I don't want that. It's like, I hope it's you. Now it is good because your bad stuff revealed your good options. I'm going to leave that for the ladies. How much time you got left, brother?
I can probably go for another 35 minutes or so. I need to be out of here by 3:30. It's 2:45, so about 45 minutes.
No worries. Let's talk about let's swing into our fellows now. Let's take it back on the guys. Anger is how we cry has been blowing up, like you said. And this is something my guys we've been saying this for years. And so when they're like, yeah, that's what we teach, that's what we do, but people haven't heard that before. I want to get into helping our guys have a little bit of control over their anger. And it's a really tough thing. And I know that you've had to go through this because we've had to go through combat. We've had to go through abuse. We have had to go through abandonment. We've had to suppress our sadness and convert it into anger, which is the only outlet that we can do and still maintain any type of dignity / respect / fear, because then people don't fuck with you.
Right.
And that feels good. Let's just put it out there. Listen, people see me and they see you, and do we not seem scary without knowing us?
I mean, a little bit. Probably a little bit.
You got the
I think that
tattoos all over. I got the mean brows and the big beard. Like, I've been told, like, you look mean and scary,
yeah. Well,
but you're
the
really
thing, so
nice.
that comes from two things, right? And one of them is not good, and one of them is. The not good one comes from people who are unsure of themselves and are just genuinely timid, and the
Hmm.
other one comes from people recognizing the situation. You know when you walk into a room who a threat is. You can assess that within the first 2 seconds of being in a room. So if you walk in and you're able to assess the threats, it's a good thing because it's coming from knowledge and knowing versus being timid. So, I mean, that really is a perspective thing as well.
Well, I agree with you, and I like that. That timid versus like, I can assess a threat, and it's nice to be able to. And this is where even at Verizon, I got a new phone, still learning it. Got a new phone, and the girl who was working with me was like, "I thought like you were scary. I thought you were going to be mean." But I was like, "You're really nice, and this has actually been really fun." Like it was one of those things where like I'm really happy to see that it was very different than my initial assessment.
Right.
And I actually was like, that's really nice. I'm glad that I looked scary and mean. I'm glad that you were like, this doesn't look good, but then realize the reality of it is very different because being a protector, you do want to be assessed as a threat.
Right. You absolutely. You
You
should be
know,
viewed as a fucking monster to
mhm.
everyone except for those that you love.
This is, yeah, being a good pack leader doesn't mean that you're not dangerous. And
Right.
I think that all of us guys should be dangerous. In fact, the more dangerous the guy is that I know, usually the cooler they are about doing damage to others. They don't want to do it.
Right.
And so this is the more trained, especially martial artists. The more martial artists I've been around, the more like, I don't want to get in this fight, dude. I have hurt people so bad. I feel bad. I don't want to do that. Please, can we find another way? But the guys who want to prove themselves because they have a little bit of training, these are the ones that show themselves as like, you're gonna get caught by somebody who knows some shit,
Yeah.
bud.
Yeah. They're not battle tested yet.
It's a big difference from false confidence and true confidence. So I'm glad that we look scary, but we're good. And that was something that really resonated with me when it came to anger, is that whole I think it's a C.S. Lewis quote with Aslan, like the lion, when like the little gopher, they're like talking with Lucy, going like, a lion, is he safe? And the gopher's like, no, he's not safe, he's a lion, but he's good.
Yeah.
He's not safe, but he's good. And I think that was something that resonated with me, to switch from being that hyper aggressive, that mean guy, into being a safe place for my people. I don't have to be super timid or small or weak or make myself seem different. I can still be dangerous, but I need to be good. And using my anger to control people. And that's the attack system. That's fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. The fight system is a system used to control, and usually used to control because you're near a part of me that is weak. And you're exposing a part of me that I do not have confidence in. I do not have acceptance in, and I don't have control. And so I try to force control by making you comply, by making you kneel, by making you back down, by making you move away. But this is also a double-edged sword, because a lot of guys who are actually doing this generally also have soft hearts underneath. Hard exterior, soft interior. Well, anger is a separator, just like excuses, they're separators. And the anger that you use pushes people away. Well, pushing people away leaves you alone. Well, I didn't want to be alone, but you use a system that makes people get away from you. So now we're in our own conundrum. Do you want to be alone and strong, or do you want to have people be close to you and be able to still be good? Like you have to choose, how are you going to be the protector? How are you going to keep people safe? And I call anger a gamble. It's a gamble system. I'm going to raise the pot by adding more energy. I'm going to keep adding more to it. Oh, I'm going to raise the stakes. I'm going to raise it. Oh, okay. We're going all in. Now, this isn't male exclusive, because right now women are hard gamblers on, even like, you didn't do the one thing I asked for, I'm going all in and pushing this to divorce if you want to fight. You're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We're gambling. And
Yep.
this is, where, like, that's a different thing for the relationship part, because autonomy and things like that for boundaries need to come in place. But knowing thyself when it comes to anger, being able to stay calm in those situations and go, I'm not actually in danger here. I just see people doing reckless things, but I'm not in danger. This is just people being emotionally reckless. Fair enough. I can accept the situation and I can still stay safe for my people until it goes physical, which it most of the time will not. I'm okay. Let's go ahead and keep it calm in this one and assess at least the options. Now, relationships is the hard one, man. We all know that. That's the hard one. You're too close to the heart. And so people will start doing reactions instead of responses and
Yep.
doing harm that we wish we could have done differently. Now, I wish that each time we did this, we were learning our attack system and our anger system that we just gambled and went all in on does at some point catch up with us. When it comes to gambling, the house wins.
Always.
And what I mean by that is you can only go all in so many times, and you can only try to win an argument by force so many times until you may be right or won the argument, but you lost the dynamic. You lost the friendship. You lost the relationship. You lost whatever that dynamic was that made it so you had people close to you is now gone because you valued the gamble of being angry and right over being able to stay calm and reserved and understanding and, keeping composure. There's a gamble to this. There's nothing wrong with being dangerous, nothing wrong with being capable, nothing wrong with competency.
I think it's important to note too that nobody wins an argument, because even if you're right and you win the argument, the other person feels like shit. There's not a win there. I am actually a really big proponent of your perception of your reality. So if you're in a situation and you view it as an opportunity versus a problem, you're going to deal with it differently. You view it as a puzzle. How do we fix this? How do we solve this puzzle versus an emotional, I'm upset, you did this because of you, blah, blah, blah. You're going to get two very different outcomes. Peaches and I don't do arguments. We may have times where we're unable to articulate the way that we're feeling. And in those moments, we have a safe word. Basically, we're just like, hey, this is going to come across like an asshole thing to say because I don't know how else to say it. And then we word vomit it. And there's silence while she processes or I process. And then okay, this is what you're saying. And we have a discussion about it. But we approach those situations from a point of problem solving, not a she did or I did, because when you're married, it's the two of you versus the problem.
Yeah.
If you were looking at your person as the opposite team and you're trying to keep score and win, you've lost. You've already lost the battle. It's done. So that's important to remember.
I love that you said that perception being reality, because if that's the truth, is that the reality is only our point of view. And our goal is to sell or convince that our reality is the right one. That means we're wrong before we even started. This is important for anyone who just heard that sentence to process it for real. If you're going to argue because your point of view is right, but everybody's point of view is different, and you're going to be aggressive or be the loud one or the judgmental one or the mean one to make sure your point is heard, I'm going to clap in your face because I'm right.
Right.
You are wrong before you began.
Because their perception is also reality.
Everybody's truth is only theirs, which really does come down to, I'm writing about this in this new book. I don't think that humans really can handle or accept the truth because we keep making it our own. We keep adding to it our experiences, our fears, our doubts, our opinions. We keep adding to it, which alters the truth from being what is to what I think it is, or what I believe it is, or what I want it to be. And that makes it so that people are constantly trying to debate their point of view is right. And they can't accept another point of view. It's amazing to watch this. It's fascinating, which means if you're trying to use anger to control other people because you think you're right, you've created a justice system that makes perfect sense to you, and others need to comply because you are the master of the universe. You are wrong before you started. So maybe pump the brakes and work on responding over reacting. Right now, you're gambling. Now, something I'm going to praise you when you and Peaches said that thing where you talked about, I don't know if I have a better way to say this. I'm about to word vomit it, but it's not because I'm trying to be mean. It's just I don't have a better way to say it. Stating your intention before you begin saying something and having the agreement that we're going to do this before the big game. Calling an audible is tough to process in real time. But saying, like, sometimes I'm going to say things that doesn't mean I'm being mean. It's just I don't have the right vocabulary for what I'm trying to articulate, which is fair for all people because language is too limited for emotions.
Yep.
We don't have the sophistication of wordplay to be able to properly articulate an emotion that people can both grasp completely.
And
And
I'm going to
that's
take
not,
a step further because it's not just everyone. It's even worse with men because we are not taught to identify.
we have to
So
suppress.
that's right. So it's even worse with us. So yeah, that's why we have those things because we've been in an argument, or well, we call them disruptions. We don't argue. We have disruptions in our day, and then we go about our day again. But we've had them where I've been saying something and I've stopped, and she's like, "Are you going to finish that thought?" And I'm like, "I don't know how to say what I'm trying to get across, so I'm just going to say it." But yeah, you're right on the audible thing. We are very big, and for those of you who have listened to our podcast, you'll know this. We are very big on laying down expectations ahead of time. So when we first started courting each other, because we did the courting phase, then the dating phase, we stepped by step things. We had in writing, these are what I expect of my partner. These are my hard no's. These are my boundaries. This limit is not to ever be crossed. Are you willing to accept these things? And she did the same thing for me. And because we were able to negotiate that ahead of time, we have a very clear in writing set of expectations that we are not willing to overstep and we must adhere to in order to have a successful marriage, right? So that plays into the ability for us to call an audible in the moment because we know that, like, when we say that, it's not coming from a place of malice, it's coming from a place of I just don't know how to articulate myself.
It's
So
acceptance. We can accept each other before we even got into it. And I think it's a very good piece of advice for any couples to even, like, if you don't know how to do that right now, why don't you try courting your girl again?
ooh, do that anyways. Do that anyways. Leave your phone in the console of your car and fucking go on dates again.
We do, yeah, we've been really having fun with our date nights, and this is something that I think people should do. And also, we, like, be honest with each other again. And this is where I say the gaslighting, our introspection. You guys have been lying for so long, and I even include pure omission.
I agree.
Like, I
Omission is
don't
a lie.
I don't like, listen, if I said, like, yeah, I just went and got some food, and I went and ate at this restaurant, you're like, oh, okay, cool. But you didn't ask if I was on a date and I was, with another person. Like, but you didn't ask that, so I don't have to tell you that. Well, that's lying, dude. Like, you're lying.
That's premeditated deception.
Correct.
I think that that's a different level of a lie, and I got to be honest. I think it's worse than when it's just flying off the hip because you thought about it ahead of time, like you planned that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
even
people.
worse.
This is where, like, people will then call it like, well, I just avoided the argument, or I don't think that they need to know, and we can justify our way out of anything that we would hate done to us. And so, be honest again, at least with your relationship, because if you are in your relationship, and I actually, I'm going to lean into something that most people are probably not excited with, but I've talked about this with a lot of people who have healthy relationships. Is there a degree of autonomy that's healthy?
Yeah, of course.
And this is where I think healthy relationships can say, if you really do betray all the values that I have, or you really do go into non negotiables, we may not be able to salvage this and we have to go separate ways. And I think when people are in a highly codependent relationship, it does make it so somebody naturally becomes abusive. Thoughts?
That's a lie. I got to process that one. That's
Okay.
a lie. Why would they naturally become abusive? That's a hell of a statement, Rick.
Because when somebody starts having control over another person and the boundaries are not held and people do not hold their line and they do not have open conversations and you start to repress your thoughts and you don't have, like, growth together, somebody starts becoming the dominant. And this is becoming more and more flip-flopped where the guys are becoming the submissive and girls are becoming the dominant, just the way that this generation is going. Well, women are not showing compassion, nurture, understanding, and, empathy for men who are not holding boundaries or staying autonomous, or, being able to say, like, you really are treating me like crap, I'm not staying with this. Like, guys who don't hold their line are being highly abused right now. no different than women who were also highly codependent and not able to say, this is a line that I can't stay with, were also being abused before this. It's the cycle repeating and just the gender swap at the moment. And
Yeah,
is
that's
it
actually how we
necessary?
word that. You mentioned it as dominant and submissive. We actually word that as feminine and masculine, because men are becoming less and less masculine and more into their feminine, because women are stepping up and being the boss bitch and like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't need no man, I'm an independent woman, which basically just means you're a fucking adult and you pay your own bills. Congratulations, we do that all the time.
Well,
Um,
unfortunately, boss babe and boss bitch and all that stuff is mean person.
it really is.
It's not kind. It's not good leader. It's
I don't
mean
see that as,
person.
that's not a good name tag to wear.
Yeah.
If I was wearing a name tag that said, "Hi, I'm an asshole," like people are going to avoid me. And when you treat people the way that that mindset is teaching women to behave, you're going to get avoided. You're going to be a crazy cat lady because you listen to the internet.
Yeah.
But in a relationship, there's actually been studies done that say that when two people are together, you start to mirror their behavior, right? Like you'll pick up on vernacular and you'll start talking like them, and you guys have the same mannerisms, and sometimes you'll have the same face twitches, and like you start to go out of your masculine and into your feminine a little bit, and women go out of their feminine into their masculine, and you live that like muted life, which is something that we've talked about on the podcast as well. And we try very hard to make sure that we have pink job, blue jobs. I don't want my wife's hands to ever get dirty. Like that's my job. Something needs to be picked up. Don't do it. I got this. Right. Because I want to make sure that I maintain that masculine energy about myself. And I want her to stay in her feminine so that we always have that balance and that structure in who we are. But that's a decision as well. Because
Mm-hmm.
when we know like that's a hard one to explain, but I agree with what you're saying. Everything that you said, we just refer to it as masculine and feminine versus dominant and submissive.
Yeah. Well, this is where I challenge autonomy and codependency then. Is when people don't have the courage or the confidence or the autonomy to go, I can leave. For those who don't know what autonomy is, this means independent. I'm free. I'm able to be free independently. 100 makes 200, not 50 makes 100. Like it's
Right.
not codependency. You complete me. It's you complement each other.
Right.
And so that's what I mean by autonomy. If they're like, I gotta fucking Google this word, like that's what we're talking about. And so, in your relationship, is it healthy to go, I love you and I'm with you because I choose to be with you, not because I'm forced to be or trapped to be? This is a healthier relationship to go, like, if you ever just break our vows and you destroy what makes us us, I have to go. And I really can. It seems like those relationships are more successful because I'm with you because I choose to be with you, not
Right.
because I'm forced to be with you and I suffer through the relationship that becomes like you don't give a fuck and you're just a piece of shit anyways, and you start tearing a dude down. And I've watched these guys where I'm like, bro, you're really just gonna sit there and just eat that? Like,
I
this is
have
very unhealthy.
I have to ask you now because I agree there's a difference between need and want.
Mm-hmm.
And I've told my wife over and over again, I'm here because I want to be, not because I need you. I don't need you. I want you. And there's
Correct.
a lot more honor and a lot more pride in being wanted than being needed.
Yes.
But on a religious standpoint, if you are religious and you make a covenant between you, your wife, and God, that divorce is completely off the table and you're in this for the long haul. How does that work with what you just said?
So this is a funny thing. I don't view God as I don't know. So he seems like not as basic as we try to make him out to be. Like, how can like he have a dude like David, for example, be his homeboy? Like, God loved David. Let's be real. What did David do? He fucking murdered over 10,000 people. He had killed his
It
best
was
friend to fuck his girl.
his woman.
He
Yep.
like David, he had his mighty men, which was pretty much dynasty warriors, and just going through and killing 600 to 1,000 guys in a battle. Like they were by any stretch not good dudes. Even David and Goliath, like, well, he was 12 years old and threw a rock at a dude's head so hard that
That
it
he killed
knocked him out and he cut his fucking head off. And
him.
God is like, that's my dude, right? Right? And
Yeah.
so if this God is able to say, I can forgive and I understand and I get the times and I understand the circumstances, do you think God also wants you to be in a highly abusive dynamic long term and he cannot forgive that you stood up for yourself as a man and left? You
No,
think
I
my God would be like,
I,
Listen, I was cool with David's shit. Why can't I be like, stand up for yourself and get out of a toxic dynamic?
right. I think the problem though is when that comes into saying that, well, this isn't good, I'm leaving, versus actually trying to resolve things.
Sure. So
You
I'm not saying don't do due diligence and then blame God. I'm
Okay.
just saying if you do your due diligence and go, this is a relationship that they do not want to work, they do not want to change, they are not putting in any effort, and they're not trying at all, and they're treating me worse and worse for all of my kindness, I am going to have to leave this toxic dynamic. It is unhealthy. No different than any female should leave an abusive male, any male should leave an abusive female. I think if you're with an abusive person, you should leave that dynamic.
I agree.
And if you blame God for the reason why you should be abused, you're creating a resentment that I don't think he would agree with.
Right. Right. I agree with all of that. I just wanted to hear your opinion on that because
Sure.
I'm a big advocate of not talking about divorce. When you put that on the table and that's an option, it gets leaned into, versus when that's not an option and you guys are having a problem and it's the two of you versus the problem and you're able to kind of like figure things out. You're going to have a better scenario and you're going to grow together because you're not hating each other.
I
You can't
believe the
can't keep
autonomy.
points on the same team. Like,
I think the autonomy fixes that if you have a healthy mindset. If you work to know thyself and you work on your things, you can then know what is best for you, bringing your best you, and they're trying to bring their best them. I think if you're working to know thyself, it gives you a different level of combat that you're able to have together because now you're not fighting each other, you're fighting something together.
problem.
And I think that that's where the autonomy has to be there. The reality is for anybody who's like, this is something where I struggled with my groups when I would work with a man and he would level himself up tenfold in every category: health, wealth, love, happiness, mindset, his ability to grieve, his leadership, every category gets better for my guys. Well, the woman that he chose and the relationship that he had when we met, the woman isn't doing anything. And so once he gets here, he's like, hey, babe, like, I also would like you to grow. And many women also like, hey, whoa, I'm noticing this gap. Like, what do? I want to do something too. I want to grow. But for the ones who don't, they try to sabotage.
Oh yeah.
And when they start sabotaging, you have to realize I don't know if this is my match anymore because the person that I was with was based on the level that I knew, and I wasn't healthy. And I chose this relationship from an unhealthy standpoint in myself, that this is the best I can do when I'm an unhealthy person. And then you realize when you become healthy that you are with somebody else who is equally unhealthy. The measurement there is willingness again, effort. Are you trying? Is the measurement. I don't need perfect results, and it's never make no mistakes. That's not the game. Are you trying to do better? Are you working on finding your own mentor? Are you working on finding your own way to improve? Are you trying to break your curses that were put on by parents and by exes and by people from your past? If you're just fucking fighting and trying and bringing the warrior out and not living just in damsel mode only, then we have a chance. But if you're going, I am on this upward turn where I am growing and on a high trajectory of improvement, and you have somebody who's like, well, just make sure you still do good things for me, and I'm going to be very unhealthy, demoralizing, toxic, shaming, put you down, judgmental, sabotaging, and yet I need you to still take care of everything for me, and I'll be worse for you. I don't agree that that relationship is meant to be, because the Bible says I have to be now in a torturous relationship that makes me no longer fulfill my destiny or potential that God created me for.
Okay, so on that then, would you say that as the man is leveling and doing all those things and the woman is sitting stagnant, if the man is supposed to lead the home because he is supposed to be the leader,
Mhm.
we're supposed to love our wives as Jesus loved the church. If you're leveling and you're doing those things, shouldn't you be leading your household to do the same thing?
Correct, which turns into willingness. If you're going, babe, I'm getting better and I want to share with you. Babe, my intent is also that you grow with me. Babe, I want to work. I'll help support you. I'll get in your own group or do your own thing. I'll support you through your own growth. I think that that's a very healthy thing. If she says no, 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 no,
Right. I agree.
no, well, then you're like, well, I can only lead those who choose to follow.
Right.
And even Jesus couldn't do miracles in Nazareth. Like, you can only help the people who are like, I want to do better too. And if you want to do better and you're with a partner who does not, you may have to have the reality check or the autonomy to go, this wasn't this isn't necessarily a match for me,
Right.
because who I was when we chose each other is not who I'm going to always be. But if your partner has zero willingness, you may have to have that reality check. And like, you may have to take a couple weeks to really write it out in your categories. What do you have in common? What are things that you love to do together? What are the benefits? What are the negatives? And there are positives. It's not all negative. Be real with it. Don't just hate monger your relationship. Really focus on your good and really focus on the stuff that's not good, and see, can we work on this stuff? And if they say, I'm not doing shit, this may not be the relationship for you. And you may have, like we talked about at the beginning, knocked yourself out of that average, below average state that you were at before into a percentage level that makes it so like you're looking for like-minded people, like the 225 benchers or the 2% business owners. If you start moving yourself into a different tribe or a different pack, you may have realized that you were an eagle the whole time hanging out with chickens. And if you're trying to fly and hit new levels and you're with somebody who only wants to stay on the ground, you may not be with your match. That's not a fun reality, but it is reality.
I am a lucky motherfucker.
Yes, yes, you are. You have one who wants to grow.
Yeah. Yep.
And this is where, like, is that choice always on the table for both partners? Yes. But do they choose it?
Right. The choice will always be there.
And you have a woman who has gone, I will choose to fight. I will not stay in just my damsel dress. I will have a warrior side of me that fights the battles here, that fights the part of me that gaslights my introspection, that fights the side of me that does not see my husband as human. He doesn't have to be my rock. He's my man, and he has a good heart, and I will love his heart. Your wife has broken out of the masses that cannot show empathy.
And she is so fucking hated for it, dude.
It's
So hated for it.
amazing. This is
It
why
really is.
I
It's
give you
scary.
guys so much credit.
It is a scary situation.
Give me an example of what you mean by she's hated for being able to like really own herself and own her own parts.
She's called a gender traitor. She's been called a slave.
Yeah.
She's had people say that because she's happy, she's oblivious to how much I'm using her, and that she's with a narcissistic man. And I mean, the list goes on and on and on. She's called every name in the book all the time. And we've, the fourth wave feminists always want to talk about, well, you should be doing your own thing. What happens when he dies? Do you have a retirement thing set up? I hope you have a prenuptial agreement and blah, 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 blah. And like, it's just constant negative radio static.
Yeah. What do you think the reason for all of that is?
She's no longer wearing her zebra stripes, bro.
She's not controlled anymore.
Right.
And so what they're trying to do, it does seem like, get her back into line again.
Right.
Get back in line and do what we want you to do without, and this is where, like, when I do doubt training, I'm going to leave it on this one just for doubt itself. I've beaten doubt outright. I'll teach you how to do it in 5 fucking minutes. Doubt is very beatable. Had me beaten down for 20 years. I'm sure you can relate. I'm not good enough. I'm not able to do this. I don't feel right here. This isn't me. Like, we get into doubt all the time. Doubt's beatable. The definition of doubt is that doubt offers nothing and takes from you everything. That's the definition for it. That's how he works. And if you can catch it, you can see where it is. So here she is saying, I have found a way to be empathetic and loving to my husband, and we have never been happier. And people say, you're a gender traitor. You're a slave. You're bad. And you're like, well, what is the offer that they're putting on the table for her to have if they listen to them? You'd sacrifice your love, happiness, your marriage, your family, your potential. You're going to sacrifice all of this to have what they're offering. Well, what is the offer to say you're a gender traitor? Join the unhappy group?
Right. Well, and that's exactly what it is. It's misery. Misery loves company.
But you're offering nothing. This means I have to sacrifice everything I've worked for to make you happy, and the offer is nothing. You're a slave. You're You're a betrayer of women, or whatever judgment there is put on the table there. Well, the offer itself is for nothing, which means when I get these offers, I thank them for the offer, but I happily decline. Thank you for your offer, but I can see that you want to destroy my potential, my marriage, my heart, my love, my compassion, my empathy, my connection. You want to destroy this, and the offer is for nothing. You're using judgment and shame to make it so I choose nothing. Thank you for your offer, but I will be declining that offer. Thank you. I do not take it personally. Doubt will try in all these different ways. The other way that doubt tries to get people is rhetorical questions with cadence. What's the fucking point, dude? What's the fucking point of doing this? What's the fucking point? Well, if I leave that unanswered with that cadence, it sounds as though that's already an answer, like I should just quit.
That's exactly what it sounds like.
What is the point, though? Why are you doing all this? What are you fighting for? What is the reason for it? Change the cadence and answer the question. I bet you find something inspiring.
Well, that's the difference between opportunity and problems. If you view it as a problem, it's a problem. If you view it as an opportunity, it's an opportunity. It's exactly what you just did.
Right. But this is how doubt works with rhetoricals. What am I even doing this for? What are you doing this for? Change the cadence and answer the question. I bet you doubt doesn't like that you do it. But if you leave it unanswered and just leave the tone there the way it is, you'll feel like you answered it, and the only answer is to give up, which means then you choose nothing. Answer the question, and I bet it reinforces why you should keep fighting. So catch the offers. That's the way that you beat doubt. Is, did you notice when somebody is calling you a name, when they are judging you, when they are shaming you, and when they are putting you down, that there is no offer? And if you choose to accept the offer, then you choose to give up on your potential, your fulfillment, your connection, your love, your passion, your dreams for nothing. So it's okay. And I give you full permission, everyone listening to this, I give you all full permission to decline the offers for nothing and fight for something that you actually love and believe in. And that's how you beat doubt. This is just for anybody who's like, well, fuck, that's fucking helpful. I hope that your girl also takes this to heart too, because for somebody to attack her for loving, what an interesting attack.
Right.
I'm attacking you for loving. Listen,
Yeah.
I'm in your corner, guys. I think you guys are wonderful, and it's been such an honor to have you hang out again, man.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, I'm willing to do it again. I'd like to have you back down here at some point too. And I know Peaches would like to have your wife on the garden. So.
Yeah, that would be really fun and be cool to do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I know you got to get ready to go. I know we're checking the time, and I'm sure there's someone in the studio. So
no, actually, there's no one in the studio. Studio's empty. It's just me here right now.
Oh, all right. Well, let's do another hour.
I got kids. Bad time, bro.
So this is one thing I want them to be able to do, though, is I'm on your show. There's a lot of things that you have coming out with us together on your show. How can people follow you or join your groups? What will we promote to make it so people can get what you really have to offer from them? Where would you want them to go?
I mean, it's this is a catch-22 also, because I know that we have the 30 to 45 second mindset. So our TikTok is To Be Better Podcast. Our YouTube is To Be Better, and then our Patreon is To Be Better. We are working on moving things behind a paywall so that we can be a little bit more forthcoming and not have to worry about getting kicked off of platforms as much, kind of like what you're doing with your podcast, which is super fucking smart, by the way. So To Be Better on just about everything. To Be Better Podcast on Instagram. We just created a life account called To Be Better Life so that we can do, like, you know, when she's laying on a hammock and I'm being dumb, I can record it and we can create content that's not podcast content. Which ironically enough is making me enjoy creating content again, because this shit gets old fast.
It does.
It does, yeah. But we're documenting our lives. We just bought some dirt bikes and we're out exploring Florida and doing the thing. So if you want to look into the men's group that we're doing and you're interested in the business aspect, all of that is behind a Patreon paywall. So you would have to check out our Patreon for that.
So join the Patreon, get plugged in with their stuff, and support them with what they're doing so they can support you with what you're doing.
Yep, exactly.
Awesome, brother. Well, thank you so much again. Always an honor. And yeah, let's definitely do this again.
For sure, man.
Later.
Thank you. Later.